Okay, so hi, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all our esteemed audience. In this webinar, we are having today the 20th International Talk on Green Business, Sustainability and Climate Action, which is being organized jointly by the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability and the Global Green Chamber of Commerce. And I think today we are marking our 20th talk where we started maybe 1 year back or less than that. So it's kind of a special celebration for us marking this event. So I'm inviting Ms. Michelle to have some opening remarks. Floor is yours, Ms. Michelle.
Thank you so much and welcome everyone. You took the words out of my mouth, Dr. Wassam. I was going to say this is a huge celebration. Credit to you, Dr. Wassam, for bringing us all together for this 20th time. And I want to just give a huge thank you, not only to our speakers, but to our team that's working on the front end and back end. And of course, we would not be here without all of our amazing attendees. So many, many thanks to all of you. And I want to give a reminder to mark your calendars for 2 weeks from today on Thursday, July 10th for the 21st. I should move that to the 21st. And so we'll continue this series into July. And just as a reminder, with the Global Green Chambers of Commerce, this is expanding all over the world. We have quite a few in North and South America. We're starting the Middle East Green Chamber. It was wonderful. One of the speakers that we've had here is starting the Morocco Green Chamber of Commerce, and as well as an Australia Green Chamber of Commerce. So we're always looking for those leaders who are wanting to step up and really look at what that may look like in your region. So, and just to take a step back of what is, why a Chamber of Commerce, because chambers have been around since 1599 in Marseille, France. A shout out to Constance and her country. And there's at least 20,000 globally. I'd say a lot more than that, 8 to 10,000 just in the United States. And they have a lot of power. There's no other organization like this in the world that has the ear and the voice of the business community in each of these different cities and regions around the world. And we see this as a new path. This international talk brings together businesses, NGOs, academia, and of course the chamber and the business spectrum. So this is a new type of way for chambers to expand and grow. And in this space, I know we started this last week, but in the midst of so many global tragedies, I really want to take just one moment to really address some of the issues that are happening, from war, hunger, suffering. And I know so many of those affect each of those participants that are joining us today. So we want to pause just for a moment to send love, hope, and prayers and peace and healing. And may this moment remind each of us to bring light into that darkness through compassion and kindness. So just one moment, we'll count to 10 seconds and just take this time for you. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. So we really care deeply for you and your families and your communities. And together we do carry the hope for a better world. So thank you so much for doing that with us. And as we head into this next section, I want to introduce Constance Raby, and she will just provide some friendly reminders to all of us as far as the structure of this particular meeting. Go ahead, Constance.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I was on mute. My name is Constance Raby, and I am originally from France. I've been working with Michelle for a couple of years now, and so So it's always a pleasure to participate in webinars like this. And our friendly reminders is that this session is very interactive. We encourage your participation. We want to know about your thought, reaction, and insight during the presentation. There will be a Q&A, and so all your questions will be stored in a paper, and then we'll ask them at the end of each speaker's presentation. And so, but for now, we will love to know where you're from. Give us your city and countries. And this is a space for open, inclusive, and uplifting dialogue. We encourage you to network also with each other, with our speakers. And yes, all questions will be addressed during the Q&A session. And so let's build a global inspiration together. Happy webinar.
Thank you so much, Constance. I really appreciate that. And it really is such a global audience. I don't know of any other series like this where we truly bring people from Europe and Asia and the Americas and just Africa, all around the world together in one platform here each and every other couple of weeks. So with that, I want to again give a congratulations, a thank you to the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability brought to us by Dr. Wissam and bringing us all together. So Dr. Wissam. Oh, Dr. Wissam, can you hear us? Oh, we might have an internet issue. Dr. Wissam, can you hear us? You might be on mute. Well, we will, as Dr. Wissam is joining us, Dr. Wissam, I think you might be on mute. Oh, we might have some internet issues here. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first speaker. And Constance, do you have that lineup by chance?
I do. And our first speaker will be Dr. Reham Fakouri, who is a senior architect at CNS. And so I will give the floor to Dr. Reham.
Hi everyone. First, I would like to thank Dr. Wissam and Ms. Michelle for the effort they do for spreading awareness about sustainability. I'm Dr. Reham Fakouri. I'm an architect, urban designer, and also landscaper. And I'm an assistant professor. And recently, I'm in the core of construction sector, working in big projects and LEED certified projects. So I will share with you my experience in one of the most important of construction technologies, modern methods of construction technologies, especially modular construction. First of all, the construction industry is one of the largest contributors to CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions today, and it holds the key to averting the worst effects of climate change. It's under increasing pressure and legislation to improve its processes and practices in order to achieve sustainability to the level that preserve the future generation and Earth's its resources and materials. Let's talk about facts and everything about CO2 emissions. As per the latest statistics, we all know that the amount of CO2 is increasing and it's reaching up to 40 gigatons, which means a 0.8 increase compared to the previous year. And this decade is the warmest compared to the previous decade. And unfortunately, it's keep rising. This is leading, of course, to severe environmental consequences of climate change, such as droughts, tsunamis, water scarcities, the fires, storms, and extreme changing in weather, as you may have noticed or seen or lived. Climate change is not just warming, it tends to make the dry places drier and wet places wetter. What about the construction industry, how it impacts the environment? The built environment has a profound impact on natural environment, economy, health, and of course, productivity. It contributes to 23% of air pollution, 50% of climate change, 40% of drinking water pollution, 14% of potable water consumption, 40% of raw material use, 50% of landfill waste, and 40% of worldwide energy usage, and 38% of all carbon emissions in the world. The percentage that we talked about earlier, construction sector is responsible for 38% of that percentage of CO2, and finally 72% of electricity consumption. And as per the statistics of USGBC, by 2030, the emissions from commercial buildings will grow by 1.8%. That one was globally. To speak locally, since I'm living in UAE and I have been taught about UAE and the environment in UAE, the construction and demolition wastes. Of course, there are a lot of statistics. These are the most concise statistics. The total solid waste generated in the UAE account for 70% of total weight of solid waste, as per of 2019 statistics. Dubai alone produces nearly 5,000 tons of construction and demolition, and it is expected that construction and development activities associated to construction and demolition will continue to rise in this region. UAE is listed as having the 29th highest carbon dioxide emissions. Of course, the UAE has encountered a significant challenge in its efforts against these numbers. Therefore, a huge change in policies, legislation, the last decade, and you all know that last year UAE hosted COP28 summit, which was basically about sustainability and discussed so many things about green businesses. But on the bright side, World Green Building Council report shows for 2019 shows that buildings and infrastructure around the world can reach 40% less embodied carbon emissions by 2030 and achieve 100% net zero emissions buildings by 2050, which is very good news. The construction sector needs to mobilize immediately to put these changes into action for global benefits. Therefore, to achieve sustainability, construction sector must transition toward a green construction businesses. But what is the green business in general and how it is related to green construction business? The green business in general is the enterprise that integrate environmentally sustainable practices into their operations while maintaining economic viability. It operates with minimal negative impact on environment, society, and economy, as you can see in the image, or as we name it also, the triple bottom line, or 3 Ps, which is planet, profit, and society, and people. Why green construction sector is important? And first, what is green construction business? It's the practice of creating environmentally friendly structures that minimize their impact on the planet. Now, green construction business is important environmentally because it enhances and protects ecosystem and biodiversity, reduce solid waste, energy efficiency, minimize resource consumption and water conservation, and of course improve air quality. Economically, it reduces operation costs, enhance asset value and profits, optimizing life cycle economic performance, and support circular economy, and of course, after all, increase efficiency. Regarding to health and the community, it improves green construction business improve air, thermal, and acoustic environment, create livable communities, contribute to overall quality of life. And this is important when we talk about improving the indoor environmental quality. The importance of a green construction business, especially in environmental quality, is important. In indoor environmental quality is important because people spend about 90% of their time indoors. So it is related. In fact, construction business is related basically to all other businesses. So imagine that you are working on an environment like this, or offices like this, or you have a view to outside terrace where you can see scenery, and I think that productivity will increase. So high quality indoor environment will enhance productivity and motivation, decrease absenteeism, and protect the health and comfort of building occupants, improve the building's value. And this is, of course, good for other businesses. Now, what are the sustainable practices in construction, or how the construction can be sustainable? All the countries around the world, especially United Arab Emirates, are following 5 important strategies, starting with legislation and green certificates. All construction companies, all the construction sector itself, all municipalities are following the green codes. So to be honest, the international building code itself is now green. And moreover, the UAE has green building codes. For example, Dubai has a Dubai building code, which is updated and modernized every year. And moreover, it has a Safat building code, which is more sustainable. This is a more sustainable version of Dubai building code. Abu Dhabi has Istidama BER rating system. Other Emirates, of course, are following that. And then Ras Al Khaimah has Burjeel building codes. Moreover, UAE itself is focusing more about projects that can get LEED certificates like BREEAM, WELL, etc. And as per the latest statistics, UAE has 1,349 buildings that are certified and registered for getting also the certification. The second technique is energy saving technologies through using the passive design. This means that from beginning, when we design the building, we should take care of orientation, we should take care of wind and sun, all these systems, and then using renewable energy as a second base, not as the first option, using alternative energy sources also, make sure that we are reducing the energy usage by using professional techniques and systems, and of course, efficient energy usage. Management techniques refers to the view of a building over its course through its whole life cycle, starting with the design and then construction, operation, demolition. Operation means also commissioning, which is very important step where we can really know if the building is sustainable or not through numbers and through statistics and through surveys from occupants. Then later demolition and waste treatment, and this is the whole building life cycle. The fourth strategy is material and resources, promoting the use of eco-friendly materials and reducing environmental impact through strategies like waste hierarchies, the 5 R's, as you can see in the image, enhancing the circular economy through cradle-to-cradle approach. And this is what we always try to think of, cradle to grave, and then the most important thing is cradle to cradle. And lean construction is basically in the core of the construction system, where we can minimize the waste coming out of site and manage the waste itself. The fifth strategy that has also small policies or strategies in between is using the sustainable technologies. And it's famous everywhere. And now we are encouraging the new generation, the new engineers, the graduate people to start thinking of using these new technologies. The first technology we can use, or it's widely used here in UAE, is 3D printing. This is Dubai Municipality building, and this is the largest 3D printed building on it's about 6,700 square foot. And it's really a successful example. We have then framed construction. These frames are constructed or are prefabricated on factories, then are assembled on site. Then we have tunnel form, which is a very modern technique for creating fast and speed infrastructure. Then we have hybrid building technologies, where we can use multiple technologies in construction, like modular construction, in situ concrete filling, and then we have structural insulated panels, and then insulated concrete forms, which means that we can create a very light and very well insulated buildings in a very fast period. But I will explain more about modular construction as I got enough experience through working in modular construction companies, designing and supervising the constructing of some units. And this method, what is this method about? It's about three-dimensional units that are prefabricated on site, prefabricated in factories under a very huge control, and with all the control that is there from engineers, from safety managers, from also managers itself, from everyone that is crafting there, following the ISO practices. And then these units are taken through vans and then assembled on site. This is a Khalifa Mosque. As you can see, this was completely prefabricated, a modular construction. More than 90%, of course, the aesthetic parts like painting and connecting, these things will be, of course, on site. This method is widely popular and expanding due to its importance in achieving 55% speed of construction, 21% of improving quality of the building itself, 20% of achieving sustainability and preserving environment, 22% of increased number of built units, and 23% high efficiency on energy, and of course sustainability, because it saved energy, it saved time, and saving time is saving energy. These are the units that I have designed. We have, as you can see, we have a small unit. Of course, this unit should be small because it will be transferred to other sites. So this is a small studio. And as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, if you can see my mouse, 3 and 4 units. Each unit is prefabricated by itself and then assembled on site. Here you can see the stair, and then you can see one bedroom unit, then another studio on top, and a terrace, and then at the low corner, right low corner, you can see the 2-bedroom apartment. What is good about this technique is that you can assemble as many, you can create so many shapes, and then you can play with elevations, you can play with sections, and we can create shadows. We can also create environment that is also livable. It's not just concrete that we are taking and place it on site. And I will explain this to you later also. Of course, a lot of you will think that maybe the interior will be commercial, maybe the quality will not be so high, maybe because it's prefabricated, it's modular construction. No, but we are focusing always on thinking of eco-friendly materials, thinking of less is more, creating a very spacious spaces with minimal decoration, because we also think about weight. And of course, the thinking of the aesthetic parts, that it is also appealing and it's also nice. This is also the wet areas, finishes. And this is how the units that I told you before, these units, I will go back to these units. This unit was built on site in factory. as a mock-up. This is a mock-up, and you can see that this is almost built unit, the unit that is almost covered on the ground level. And you can see on top of that, we have this small unit, and you can see the frames, the stainless steel panels or aluminum panels. On top of that will come a rigid or soft insulation. And after that will come the finishes. Then later there will be a stainless steel handrail that is covering everything. There is also a 3D that is showing the structure itself from inside, where you can see the precast foundation, and then you can see all the materials that is inside the walls and also in roof, in ceilings, and how they are constructed. On right corner at the end, you can see the stairs and the connection between units. And after that, these units will be moved and be assembled on site. And also we created a small schematic design for a community in Saudi Arabia, just to show that these modular construction units can also create a healthy and livable communities. Also, the mosque is prefabricated because the company I was working on also was constructing also units of offices and mosques and so many other units. Finally, to summarize, to summarize everything, green construction supports the broader objectives of green businesses through intelligent integration of technology with nature to create healthier communities, therefore reducing environmental impact on Earth. And I hope really for the new generations to follow as much as they possible and to dig deep and surf more about these technologies and to try to use these technologies in order to improve the environment. Thanks you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reham, for this interesting sharings. And now we move to the second speaker, and the second speaker would be Mr. Paul Lindqvist. And Mr. Paul, he is the co-founder and CEO of Environmental Impacts Academy in Finland. So the floor is yours, Mr. Paul.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Reham. I trust that you can hear me and that you see my slides. All right. So my topic today is environmental life cycle assessment, and specifically how that relates to circularity. And I'll today give you a short introduction to why companies do LCA and what LCA is, but then I'll spend most of the time on some topics that are important, especially when you do life cycle assessment for a circular product or a service, a circular business model of some kind. So my name is Paul Lindqvist. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Environmental Impacts Academy. We are an online educational company with the vision of creating a positive handprint in the world. And I would love to connect with all of you in the audience if you want to. You can scan my LinkedIn QR code here on the screen, or you can just connect with me when I share my LinkedIn profile in the chat in just a second. There we go. All right, but let's get to the topic. So why do companies do life cycle assessments? There are a few main reasons. LCA helps you identify the biggest drivers of your environmental impacts, which are often somewhere upstream or downstream in your value chain, outside of your own company. And life cycle assessment also helps you identify which of the possible improvement actions would be the most beneficial, the most effective ones. And then last and not least, LCA helps you comply with various environmental regulations. All right. I'm trying to do the comment again, so I'm sorry that failed. Okay, no. All right. So what is a life cycle assessment? We found out it's useful, but what is it really? So environmental life cycle assessment, as defined by the ISO 14040 and 44 standards, is a scientific method for assessing a wide range of environmental impacts over the full life cycle of a system. That can be a product, it can be a service, or an organization. And the life cycle stages covered by LCA are raw material extraction, such as digging minerals out of the ground or growing a crop for food purposes or some other material. Then we have manufacturing, which is also often a long chain of activities. Transportation, distribution, also including retail operations to get the product to the consumer. Then we have the use stage, which often is quite significant and can include, for example, impacts of energy consumption in the case of a smartphone, for example, or water consumption and detergent emissions to waterways, for example, for washing laundry, like this sweater I'm wearing here. And then finally, after hopefully a lot of use and reuse, repair, repurpose, refurbishment, and so on, a product will reach its end of life, which can be either recycling or it can be waste management. And all of these life cycle stages, in all of these life cycle stages, a product has some environmental impacts. Now, what might those impacts be then? As mentioned, LCA assesses environmental impacts on many different impact categories. And the one that most of us hear about all the time is global warming, which is of course important. We also see a lot more attention being paid to water scarcity. That's of course linked to global warming. There are, however, several others. And usually about 15 to 20 different impact categories can be assessed by a life cycle assessment, a little bit depending on the impact assessment method that is being used. And in addition to global warming and water scarcity, those can usually be grouped under biodiversity or impacts on ecosystems. Then we have depletion of non-renewable natural resources and also impacts on human health. So, but under these there are multiple different, more detailed impact categories. I won't go more in detail here because that's not the topic of today's speech. So how is an LCA done then? Also here I could spend hours, but don't want to do it, so I'll just do it in a minute. So when you conduct a life cycle assessment, you make a model of your system, including all relevant materials and processes over the whole life cycle of your product. And all those materials and processes are linked to each other, and many of those have exchanges with nature, which means that we take something out of nature, a resource, a material, or there is an emission, an output into nature. And as a result of building this whole model and collecting all this data, we will have an inventory of all the exchanges with nature that are caused by this product, for example, over its whole life cycle. And based on this data, all those different environmental impacts that I just mentioned, they can be calculated by LCA software with the help of databases and calculation rules and so on. It's a bit complex, not going in there today. All right, so LCA is useful and it has some sort of relation to circularity. So how does that work? Now, to be sustainable, the whole global economy eventually will need to become more circular. And the core of that is to be sustainable, and to be sustainable, our target should always be to prevent waste. And to do that, we should minimize producing physical products in the first place, So refuse and reduce. And then we should keep those products that we do produce, we should keep them in use for as long as possible. So circularity is all about keeping resources and materials in use for as long as possible and avoiding waste. So we should aim to reduce, reuse, repair, repurpose, refurbish, and so on as much as possible. And then quite low in the waste hierarchy that we see on the screen now, we have recycling. So it's a little bit better than incineration for energy recovery or landfilling waste. But recycling is, recycling of materials is kind of quite low in that hierarchy. So it's already as one way of managing waste. All right. Now thinking about how this relates to circularity then. So circular business models, there can be many different kinds. They all aim to reduce waste, to keep materials in use for as long as possible. And a few examples can be fashion re-commerce, that clearly extends the life cycle of textiles, or at least it increases the amount of how many times a piece of textile is used during its lifetime. Then we can have businesses that build on upcycling waste streams, industrial waste streams, and instead of treating those as waste, again, incineration or landfill, those can be used for creating new products or new innovative materials. One other business model that can be considered circular is product as a service. So like those e-scooters that appear in many cities that we either love or hate, they do make more efficient use of products compared to everyone owning their own e-scooter. Well, I'm not sure that would be an alternative, but the idea is that the product is actually being used more than everyone having their own. And then still one more, it would be moving from single-use to reusable dishes in takeaway restaurant, for example. That has the opportunity of reducing the environmental burden for takeaway food. So then, how does this link then to LCA? And what things are especially important in life cycle assessment or life cycle thinking about circularity. So if we avoid waste by extending the life cycle of a product, how do we capture that in LCA? And this is where an important concept in LCA comes in, and that's the functional unit. And the functional unit, that's important in any LCA. It's not specific to circularity, but in circularity specifically, it's quite important that we understand it. So a functional unit, it's based on, first of all, the function of the system that we look at. And a functional unit, it enables a fair comparison of the environmental performance of systems that perform the same function. And defining a functional unit starts with identifying the function of a system. So its reason for being, why does it exist? And let's take the second example on the slide here. Let's a coffee cup. I have a coffee mug here. I'm from Finland. We drink a lot of coffee, so it's a big mug. Now, producing this mug, it consumes a lot more natural resources than a single-use paper cup. But I can use this like thousands and thousands of times, whereas a paper cup is used only once. So how do I make a fair comparison of these? And it starts with the question, what is the reason for being of this cup? Why does it exist? What do you do with it? Now let's activate people. Write in the chat, what's the reason for being of a cup? what do you do with it? I know it sounds a bit funny, but just for fun, write it there in the chat. Or write in the chat, what's the reason for being? What's the function of a car or a train or a bus? All right. Well, it's pretty straightforward. If we take the car first, or the train or bus, the reason for being of a car is not to burn gasoline or to weigh 2 metric tons and stand on a parking lot. The reason for being, the purpose of a car is to transport people and luggage from one place to another. So the functional unit of a car or a bus or a train could be passenger kilometers. That enables a fair comparison of the environmental performance of traveling with one of those. And as in a similar way, the functional unit for a coffee cup could be the number of servings of hot drink, which enables comparing the environmental performance of 2 different kinds of coffee cups. So what are the environmental impacts of the cup when I use it one time? All right. Now this enables you to allocate, for example, the production impact of a cup, of this cup. I can spread it evenly over, let's say, I don't know, 10,000 uses. And that reduces the proportional environmental impacts of producing the cup. On the other hand, this cup needs to be washed in a dishwasher, and that again does have some impacts, but those are still lower than the impacts of waste management of a paper cup, most likely. All right. So functional unit enables a fair comparison of the environmental performance of different systems. Very important. Now, another important topic, although I just stated that recycling is one of the least preferred options. We should prefer to refuse, reuse, refurbish, repair, and so on. But eventually, when it is better than incinerating or landfilling, it is better to recycle or to repurpose, reuse products. So if there is recycling involved in our life cycle assessment, then we end up dealing with something that's called allocation. And it has to do with when we recycle the material used, it basically moves from one life cycle to another. So that will reduce, it will save the use of some raw material, and it will save some waste management, but it will cause some environmental burdens from reprocessing the material, the recycling process itself. But yeah, allocation is used to define which of those life cycles will carry the environmental burdens of different parts of that material. So who will carry the burdens of and who will get the benefits of recycling materials. There are many ways of doing this, solving this. And the simplest way is one method called cutoff. So if you apply that one, you basically cut off your life cycle at the point when the material is handed over from the first life cycle to the recycling, the company or the entity doing the recycling. So the first life cycle carries the environmental burdens until the product is made available for recycling. And the company that does the recycling, on the other hand, receives the material free of burden, so to speak, and only needs to include the impacts from that point onwards in their processes. Now, as mentioned, this is the simplest way to do it. There are multiple other ways of doing allocation, and allocating the benefits and burdens of recycling. And this is a topic we talk about usually for hours in our hands-on LCA training program. It's a complex topic, but this helps to illustrate how it works in the simplest possible way, and just highlighting that it's a thing, and that the fact that recycling exists and that it does reduce environmental impacts to some extent, usually it is considered, it is taken into account in life cycle assessment. All right. So getting towards the end of the presentation, I want to end with a few things to keep in mind if you set off to do a life cycle assessment. First of all, you need to know what you're doing. LCA is not rocket science, but it is a bit difficult. And it's important that you know how to do LCA, because otherwise things can go horribly wrong. So that's one thing. The other thing is be honest. Be brutally honest with your assumptions when you build your model, especially about human behavior. So for example, products that are recyclable, it's nice, but the question is, will they really be recycled, or do they just end up in the same trash bin as everything else? Another example, what I mentioned earlier, is the use of single-use containers compared to reusable containers. The question there is that how do people behave? Will people then bring back the reusable ones or not? And how many times does that need to happen so that their impact is lower than a single-use product? So be critical, be fact-based. Don't base your analysis on wishful thinking. Be critical, and have an open mind. Prepare to be surprised. I've been supporting in my current role now about 40, 50 people when they've done their first LCA, and not all of them have brought up any surprises, but some of them have. So have an open mind. LCA might just give you results that you did not expect and results that you did not want, but that's okay. That's how science goes. So be prepared for that, and then adjust your business model, your process, your product if needed. All right. To conclude, I want to share a little piece of a little resource with you. We have created a roadmap for people and companies who want to get started with doing life cycle assessment. You can scan the QR code here on the screen and get to that if you want to. It's a very simple step-by-step guide on how to get started with LCA and how we can support with that. Thank you for my part. Open to any questions, either now or later on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for this enlightening presentation. And we move to the third and last speaker for today. So the guest speaker, next one, Miss Lorraine Mogri. And Miss Lorraine, she is a banking professional and ESG practitioner from Kenya. So the floor is yours, Miss Lorraine.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to present on this platform on the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability on this 20th edition. I'm very humbled for this opportunity, and I look forward to having an interactive session. So as Dr. Osam has mentioned, I am a professional I'm a banking professional with just under 14 years of experience in operations, sustainability, and in ESG as well, from here in Kenya, which is in East Africa. I am also an ESG practitioner and a sustainability champion for the bank. So today's presentation we will focus on sustainable finance and look forward to having an interactive session. Okay. So, okay. So the world is facing climate stress, and the climate stress in this case can be either the physical stress, which is either acute or it's acute in some cases, in this event being like droughts and floods and wildfires, and even there's a temperature rising and there's the rising of sea levels as well. But over and above that, that would be classified more on the environmental bit. And this also can be coupled up with the social issues, whereby the social issues could be like overpopulation, urbanization, and migration. All these are triggered by environmental pressures, whereby people need to move due to reasons whereby they are affected by the environmental situation around where they are. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, okay. So, what is sustainable finance? Sustainable finance is as simple as it entails the financial systems, aligning the financial systems to sustainability, whereby it's a shift to a more holistic approach in which sustainability issues are part of the metrics. So, sustainable finance would refer to a systemic integration of environmental, social, and governance factors in financial decision making processes. These factors are embedded in risk management, investment, and lending decisions with the aim of financial activities that are economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable. So when we look at why do next slide, please. Next slide. So we have, why would you choose sustainable finance over the traditional financing option? So we're looking at the option, the advantages that come with this. We have better financial performance and increased profits. We have increased market share in sustainability driven sectors, greater and higher long-term returns by financing more sustainable projects and businesses. Then we have reduced risks. We have new business development through new products and services. Then we have enhanced reputation and better brand value. We also have better access to capital and international financial organization. And last but not least, we have increased value to shareholders. Next slide. Okay, so when you talk about sustainable finance, we're looking at the products that you'd actually break it down to. It is divided into two modules, whereby we say there's use of proceeds, and we have the performance-based model. So when we talk about the use of products or of proceeds, in this case, the approach is used to identify predefined green, social, or sustainable projects where there is a commitment to spending the allocated amount on sustainable investment. The outcome is monitored without quantified expectation on the impact. And the two examples that I would give in this particular model is green loans, whereby the green loans is money that is borrowed that is used for green purposes. These are normally issued by financial institutions, and they play an important role in financing the transition to a more sustainable economy and allows the bank to enhance and engage with enterprises and individuals to raise awareness of sustainability related issues. When we look at the green bonds, we're looking at financial institutions developing green bond principles that are voluntary, and the guidelines on the green bonds are normally updated regularly. So when we look at performance-based model, in this case, the approach is used for most general purposes whereby the specific projects or the assets are not monitored. There's a commitment to a future outcome with clearly documented expectation on the impact. The key performance indicators have one or several sustainability performance targets. So if you look at the differences between the use of proceeds and the one for performance-based, the performance-based is actually measured, and it's measured whereby you also have the targets. So in this particular case, we will talk about the sustainability linked loans and the bonds. So when you talk about the sustainability linked loans, it's any type of loan instrument or facility like a guarantee or a letter of credit which incentivizes the borrower to achieve ambitious, predetermined sustainability objectives. If the sustainability performance targets are met, as a borrower, you're likely to be charged a lower interest rate when you're paying back your loans. And then for sustainability linked bonds, we're looking at it as any type of bond instrument for which the financial or structural characteristics can vary depending on whether the issue achieves social and governance objectives within the timeline. So this is sort of like time bound. And for this particular one, it is not specific for investments. The bond is normally linked to one or many environmental and social projects. So generally, you can go to the next slide, please. So generally, we can look at when we're picking the sustainability products, what is our motive? If you choose to go and today to a bank, and a bank wants to actually finance you on a sustainability linked, either a loan or a sustainable green product, what is it that the bank is looking to achieve? So they're looking to achieve a better financial performance and increase profits. We also have access to the new opportunities and the markets in the low carbon economy. In this case, we're looking at having a new market in terms of, this is a customer who's coming with a transition plan. So they want to move to a low economy. So how do you support them as a bank? So you're looking at ways in which you can actually have a product that is curated to fit in what their needs are. And then we also have the reduced risk of loss, whereby as the world is changing and the times are changing, we're looking at a bank that is looking at its reputation. And are you looking at having customers who are actually friendly to the environment, and they're actually socially well placed in society, and their governance is also proper? So you're all looking at the all-round aspect of the whole. You're looking at an all-rounded aspect of this customer. Then the part of it's the same thing, that where you're trying to also strengthen your brand reputation. And then nowadays, most customers would come, they want to be associated with a product that is sustainable. So we are also looking at meeting the customer's expectation and also regulatory requirements. We're also looking to just support the transition towards a low carbon economy, and also just to support the sustainable development. Next slide, please. So when we look at the key elements of sustainable finance, we break them down to 4 of them. So we have the financial, we have the environmental, the social, and the governance. So when we look at the financial aspects, we are paying attention to expected returns and take account of the risks that are associated with generating those returns. When we look at the environmental bit, we're looking at investments with environmental impacts, being green investments, These are investments that are tending towards climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, biodiversity conservation, just to name a few. Then we have the social aspects. These are investments with positive social impact and are positively impacting individuals, communities, and the society around you. These include investments in which the companies and the projects focus in gender equality and focus also on environmental friendly activities, and we also focus on better working conditions, not environmental, but better working conditions, and then we go to the governance. We're looking at systems and processes and oversight in place to ensure the organization and its products deliver their financial, the social, and environmental goals, providing reassuring to their stakeholders that these goals can be delivered. Okay, next slide, please. So, for you, if you were to go and ask for financing from a financial institution, what are some of the things that they would consider? There are some of the things that they also go through, and they would want you to have either a project or your enterprise is following for you to be able to actually be lined up to actually qualify for the product, a green product or a green financing. So your project would have to be a bankable project. And when we talk about bankable project, what do we mean? When the analysis is done, it examines your profitability, your financial leverage, your debt servicing capability, your liquidity, and the cash flow projections. And the performance indicators of the financial status of this enterprise are very key as well. So the performance indicators of the financial status of an enterprise, they're derived from the income statements and the balance sheet, all coupled up with the cash flow. This would be able to verify your project, whether it's actually a bankable project. Then when we look at just to look at a product, like you would actually come and still say that your product is still we're looking at you saying your product is sustainable. How would we be sure? So we're looking at what is your intention, what is your return, and how can it be measured? Is it measurable? We check on that. It's the same thing of just confirming whether your project is actually bankable, so that it doesn't end up being greenwashing, whereby greenwashing in this circumstance is claiming that you're actually having a sustainable project or doing sustainable, your business is actually a sustainable one. However, in the real sense, it's actually not. So that is what we define as greenwashing. Next slide, please. So when you look at this graph, it's just giving us the example of what it is like to have the traditional financing and having a sustainable one. So when you look at the graph and you do the analysis, you're looking at the traditional financing products being ones that were actually more pegged and tailored towards looking at the financial returns. But right now, as the world is going and as things are changing, and we're looking at what the way the climate patterns are, we're looking at a project that would be all rounded. You're not only looking at the financial returns, you're also looking at what impact is your product bringing to the environment. How are you treating the staff, the individuals who are working for you? How are you treating the community that is around you? How are you treating just even the people you're interacting with, like your social impact? So we're looking at the two. We're looking at a balance between your financial returns and, at the end of the day, your environmental and the social impact that you have in your business. Next slide, please. So when you look at for a bank as well, when we look at the social and environmental management system, So when you look at this system, this image is looking at the few things that I mentioned. Some of the things that you'd go through when you're looking at the social bit. The social would be consideration of the rights. It's a right-based approach, whereby you're looking at the human rights, whereby you're looking at the labor rights. Are you paying your people within within the spectrum that they should actually be paid, within the range and within what they are doing? What you're looking at things like, is there gender equality? Is there women empowerment? All right. Are you looking also at the vulnerable groups? What are you doing as a company? Are you actually having an inclusive culture? Do you have an inclusive culture whereby you don't discriminate against anybody just because of their cultural background? You also, are you inclusive of their heritage? They're coming with their, assuming it's an indigenous group, they have the way of life that they have. Are you being inclusive? So when you look at also the environment bit, are you looking at how are you taking care of the biodiversity? Are you looking at the nature bit, the practices that you're doing? Are they nature? Are they tending towards the nature? Are they environmentally friendly? So all these, you'd mean you'd have this system of a social and environmental management system, whereby you look at all this as an all-rounded um, aspect, and in your operations, how you balance the two. Next slide, please. So what would be the benefits of having this social and environmental management system? So we have this, some of the benefits are having a systematic and consistent approach towards the social and environmental issues. And then we have the high impact on the cost versus benefit ratio. And then we have it's an easy integration into existing organization and management systems, leading to improved risk control. Then we have better communications, resulting in improved public relations, greater stakeholder dialogue, and credible commitment towards staff and external stakeholders. We also have improved access to international capital markets and funding with multilateral institutions and development banks. So next slide, please. When we look at improving the stakeholder engagement, what does that really entail? So we're looking at, as part of the process of managing social and environmental sustainability, the banks need to increase the engagement with stakeholders, making themselves more open and more accountable to the wider range of interested parties. So the banks need to engage stakeholders in their own organizations, within their being employees, staff, and the governing board. So when we look at what is it within the bank that it can do within this social and environmental management system. So within the bank, you can clearly communicate the goals, the directions, the policies, and processes entailed in sustainability management processes to all employees and make sure they understand them. Some of the financial institutions may need to undertake a number of steps to build this capacity. How do you do this? So you're improving on decision-making capacity and empowering all your employees. You're strengthening the board of directors to improve their expertise and empowering them in decision-making. There's also establishing strong and internal controls, making a high level of transparency and disclosure a standard throughout the organization. There's also building up reporting capabilities and planning for succession. And then outside the bank, how is it that you can also incorporate this same system? So we say it's important to engage the wider community that may be affected by the projects and activities that the bank is backing up. So banks must be sure that there are initiatives to minimize adverse social and environmental impacts and increase society investment in sustainable areas are visible to the wider public. This is a way for a bank to create sound reputational advantage, communicating a bank's performance in sustainability initiatives and social and environmental management to external stakeholders is a key component in creating long-term value. Among others, it can enhance the bank's reputation, build its brand, and improve its image to the community. So, next slide, please. Oh, okay, fine. Sorry.
Ms. Doreen, sorry, you have 2 minutes to conclude, please.
All right, I'm just about to be done. So when you look at the slides, sorry, it's just the previous slide, but it's showing you the benefit of considering the social and environmental issues. And then this next slide is some of the frameworks that the banks have adopted. We have the Equator Principles, we have the UN Global Compact, we have the UNEP FI statements, among others. So if I look, when you look into the future, we could just move forward slowly. I just want to give the conclusion, sorry. Looking into the future, financial institutions must expand their view of what generates long-term value for themselves, for their clients, and for the society. So a better understanding of the business case for sustainability is prompting the bank sector to be more proactive in implementing changes in policies and management systems. These changes are taking place through continual improvement of the social and environmental management tools. So better corporate governance and greater participation in society. To continuously improve, financial institutions need not to only incorporate better standards in social and environmental risk management, but to also expand their view of what generates the long-term value for themselves. From the inside, successful implementation of the management system would include organization-wide awareness, employee involvement, and effective stakeholder engagement as well that will attract and strengthen the human resources. So banks and financial intermediaries that use these strategies will gain a competitive edge that will strengthen their positions by contributing to macroeconomic development for their countries and their regions, facilitating their integration into international financial communities and serving as models of best sustainability practices that others can follow. Thank you. And I'm open to any
Thank you
questions.
so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Lorraine, for again, this is an interesting topic. And I would like to thank all the speakers for the sharings from sustainable construction to life cycle assessment to sustainable finance. And I'm inviting Ms. Michelle to moderate the Q&A session. And I will be sharing the QR code for the attendance and getting a certificate as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for those really important presentations. I think this particular 20th edition of our international talks were really unique in that we had very clear business models that came into play as far as the what or the why. Why are we doing this? What do we do it? You know, what are the benefits and how do we do it? And also sharing some of those examples. And again, in the building LCA and financial cases. So really appreciate that. And we have a lot of questions to get to. Any questions that we don't answer today, we'll go ahead and put it into the posting on the in the comment section. So keep an eye out for those if your question does not get addressed today. But we'll jump right in. And the first question that we will ask is for Dr. Fakhari. The question is for Dr. Camila, from Dr. Camila. What are the materials that are commonly used in green construction? And Dr. Bakari?
Yes, hi. The best material that you use is the reused material itself. For example, if you are renovating a home or you're renovating a building itself, it's better first to use the material that is in that building. Instead of wasting these materials and taking it to recycle, why not to clean it and reuse it again? This is the first thing. And now in building, we have modern ways. Oh, sorry. For example, the cement, the Portland cement now is in a very sustainable version than it was like 10 or 20 years ago. Of course, using steel, recycled steel, recycled plastic bricks, using also cross-laminated panels or cross-laminated wood with less formaldehyde, the minimum formaldehyde used. And in UK, you can search for group building, which is a 9-story building was built using cross-laminated panels. Also using hemp concrete bamboo. Also, it's growing fast and can be used without harming the environment. Instead of using or cutting trees, recycled leather also through. If we are using that for furniture, through using some types of cactus, and it's now everywhere. Also using Energy Star products for HVAC, for MEP systems, all these types of materials that you can use.
Thank you so much. And I think it's really important when you go back to your own statistics of 50% of landfill waste is coming from construction,
Yes.
as well as the 70% in the UAE coming from that construction. Those were shocking numbers for me personally.
Yes, it is very huge number. And now everything here in UAE is recycled. Not almost everything, but like 80% of all these materials are recycled. Materials that are coming from the land itself, from brownfield land, they are used, and concrete, even demolished concrete, they are crushed and used again and again in construction.
Lessons for us all to learn around the world. So thank you so much for that. And our next question is for Dr. Paul. We have one question from Indira. What methodological innovations are needed better to integrate social and economic factors into LCA frameworks, especially when evaluating circular economy initiatives in developing countries? Great question.
All right. Thank you. Yes, that's a great question. Big question with many questions inside it. So I'll try to see what I can answer. Social life cycle assessment is a science that is developing right now. It's not mainstream yet, but it's getting more and more common. But it's more on the level that scientists are doing it still. But it's growing. And so social LCA, so bringing kind of the social aspect, not just the environmental aspects to life cycle assessment, that's under work, and that's clearly an area where science has to develop and where that has to become more mainstream. Economic aspects, again, there my question is not so much about how much innovation is needed, it's more about who will do that assessment and for what purpose. Who has an interest in understanding on a societal level the kind of the full and economic impact of producing a product, for example, or providing a service. So taking into account externalities, I assume that's kind of what's behind this question. In developing countries, then, could you repeat? So basically, circularity, LCA, developing economies. I think there it's in many ways developing economies are much more circular than we in the global north. which is good. On the other hand, of course, then the living standards are not always the greatest, which is not so good. So we need to find a balance there. But I think there's an opportunity there to stay circular while still improving the standards of living. And having a life cycle thinking approach when doing that, maybe that's more for policymakers to keep in mind, and people creating businesses. Have that in mind from the start, to avoid all the mistakes that countries like mine have done. To consume excessively of materials and so on.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to remind everybody about that QR code that you provided, because it seems like it doesn't matter where you're starting from, at least there's steps that you can take. And it's really important to provide those types of resources. So thank you so much for that. And our next question is for Lorraine. The question is from Strong Truth. And he says, the financial system plays a central role in driving sustainability. Do you believe that investing in AI for this sector is more effective than relying on simpler, proven sustainability methods?
Hello. Hi, could you kindly repeat the question? Sorry, there's a part I missed. Sorry.
Yes. The financial systems play a central role in driving sustainability. Do you believe that investing in AI for this sector is more effective than relying upon the simpler, proven sustainability methods?
All right. Thank you very much for that great question. So what I would say about AI, I'd probably maybe say using it as a more like complementing what the already existing policies and procedures and everything that the banking sector is actually currently doing. Reason being, if you look at how AI works, it works in line with what you have input. So it's human intervention that actually has put this content into it. So if I want it to help in curating a product that is towards the line of in the green line, it means it's a human who has actually been used to do this intervention. So when you look at it, like the traditional way of looking at it is you can only use it, you use what is already existing, the information that is already existing, and you can use the AI now to complement it. So I'm looking at what is currently in a country's taxonomy. What is the taxonomy helping you? A country's taxonomy would help a bank to curate products that are specifically actually touching on what their customers would want. And it's just guiding them. It's like a guiding force. So when you come up and now you want to say you're using AI, the only part that I feel that the AI can come in is when you're checking like the climate risks in a customer that is investing in a customer that you've actually lended to. When you're looking at the climate risks, you'd probably have to now actually integrate the AI in terms of you're checking on the money that you've lended to this person. Is it actually being used for this particular purpose? Is it used for a sustainable project? If it's not being used, are you able to integrate blockchain, which will be able to tell you how much what this money, blockchain technology, what this money is being used for, and track it and trace it. So that's the part that I feel AI would come in. But otherwise, I feel that the traditional way of checking the curating it in line with the country's taxonomy would work best.
Thank you so much. I know we just have a few moments left here, so I'm going to try to ask just some quick questions. So if you have an answer that can be maybe 20 seconds or so, that would be great. I don't know if some of these can be done in that way, but I will just kind of do a quick fire here. We'll start with Dr. Fakhari. And Samuel Thuka has asked, what percentage of construction costs can be reduced by using these green building practices? And I know that's probably dependent on many factors, but do you have some type of estimate?
Sorry, can you please repeat the question?
Yes. What percentage of construction costs can be reduced by using green building practices?
It depends on the techniques that is used. Usually going to a green building construction depends on the materials that you are using, depends on the techniques that you are using, and of course the quality of the product, and whether the client requires something maybe saving more energy or something that is better in the shape. And I also saw a question regarding the cost, why the cost of green building, of the new technologies are still high. Of course, everything usually at the beginning of it will be a little bit higher. For example, when we first start to use a solar system, it was very expensive in the beginning, but through techniques used and also through incentives provided from the government, also through time, and of course, after you think that you will save the energy, then you will start to gain more. So it's a synergy. For example, if green building constructions are conserving resources and materials, saving energy, sometimes also producing energy. So in the long run, even if it is costing the beginning, and as per the statistics, it shows only that it is more than about only 2% of all the costs. So for example, I'm paying, for example, now $5,000 extra, but in the long run, I will be saving this money and also more because I'm saving energy. And also don't forget the atmosphere that you are getting from saving, from living in a healthy environment that is also will reflect to your productivity, to your body also. So the cost of technologies used will be, of course, less through time, but also the saving will come through time as you are saving energy, and of course you will be saving money in return. It's a synergy.
Thank you so very much. And I know that we're pretty much out of time on our questions. So again, look in the posting from the Global Ambassadors of Sustainability, both the speakers and the team members or attendees that have asked questions, and we'll drop those in, and hopefully they'll be answered in that capacity. So I also want to just share that, again, we've had a very global audience. Today we've had people from Islamabad, Pakistan, Egypt, Santa Barbara, USA, Morocco, Valencia, Spain, Dubai, UAE, Seattle, Washington, my hometown, Dortmund, Germany, Monroeville, USA, Bethlehem, Palestine, Kigali, Rwanda, KSA, Nairobi, Kenya, Assisi, Malaysia, Alexandria, Egypt, Nigeria, India, Ghana, Switzerland, Lebanon, Belgium, Nigeria, Berlin, Germany, Indonesia, Canary Islands. I think that's a first. I'm not sure we've had anybody from Canary Islands in the past. Kathmandu, and so much more. And of course, our speakers today are from the UAE, Kenya, and Finland. So we know that we'll have probably 1,000 more different viewers seeing this video. So please do share this video with others. Hopefully you were able to download your certificate from the QR code that Dr. Wissam had shared. I want to say thank you so much for the speakers. I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Wissam.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Michelle and Constance. And I would like again to thank all the speakers, the guest speakers, for their interesting sharings, and also for the audience who participated today and engaged in the discussion. And we will see you back in 2 weeks' time with more speakers to share more interesting experiences on the topic to establish this and keep the discussion and the international networking for future collaboration. Thank you so much and have a good times, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.